Hey guys, welcome back. The title of the video is going to be The Biggest Wealth Transfer in History is Happening Now. So I've tried to record this video, I think 4 times this week. I did a couple outside, went on my normal walks, and I did one in my office. And to be honest, the tone for this type of video, I was just too rough around the edges and too raw on this tone for this video. You know, when you're talking about the rich getting richer and wealth transfers, it's kind of a sensitive topic for a lot of people, especially in these times we're going through right now, with everything being so divisive politically. And we've got these massive cuts going on in the government, and we've got cuts going on in the private sector as well. And I just feel like I need to be a little more sensitive to what's going on out there, because there's a lot of people hurting right now, both in the federal government and in the private sector. You see this in YouTube and reaction videos where people are reacting to TikToks of people getting laid off left and right, left and right. And I think we should talk about this and what is, in my opinion, happening or going to happen in the next 12 to 24 months. Okay. And I'm going to take a more laid back approach tonight. I've got my tea. I got my little orange Lego spaceman here with me. So we're just chilling, you know, talking economics, macroeconomics. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a financial professional. I can't tell you what to do, when to do it, or how to do it. You know, this is just entertainment purposes and for, you know, some education about what I think is going on and probably going to happen, most likely. So bear with me. This video might take, you know, who knows, maybe upwards of 20 minutes. You know, that's kind of a long video for me. Most of my videos are between 8 and 10 minutes. But I want to educate people on, you know, what the economic cycle is all about and why you should be aware of it. Okay, it's important to maintaining and building wealth in this world. And I'm going to get into why I think we're going to see the biggest wealth transfer of all time happen in our lifetimes in the next 12 to 24 months. I'm going to get into that. But, you know, let's take a look at kind of the lay of the land today and a little bit of history, not a whole lot. But we can talk about history first. Let's just kind of get that out of the way. When we look at economic cycles throughout history, it's typically a boom and bust. And I mentioned that in a previous video where I talked about how Elon Musk and Donald Trump are trying to crash the economy. I think, in my opinion, it's really all about the economy at the end of the day. And what they're trying to do is allow for the boom and bust cycle to continue. Okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we can look at the last major bust in the economy. Some of us are very familiar with it, and some of us are brand new and don't even know about it. They've never been involved in it. And it happened in 2008. We had the financial crisis, and that was a bust at that point. You know, we had decent interest rates. They weren't too high, but we had a lot of leverage in the system. And we had a bust where the economy crashed out. Okay, all that leverage came spilling out into the economy, or out of the economy, essentially. And the Federal Reserve, they had to lower interest rates to about 0%. All right. And that was in order to get a new growth cycle started. All right. Our economy is based on debt, and that debt has to be low, or that the interest rates on debt needs to be low enough to grow an economy. All right. For people to take out mortgages or auto loans, or companies to invest and take out mass sums of leverage to be able to grow a company, to be able to grow revenue, so on and so forth. And so this growth cycle we've had since 2009, I would say, at least in the stock market's perspective, has been going on for almost 15 years. I would say maybe 13 years. It went on for 13 years, right past the pandemic, and that's where we got this massive inflation spike. And the Federal Reserve had to step in, and they had to raise rates to the fastest they've ever raised rates to try to bust the growth cycle. All right. We had the boom for 15 years, and now we need a bust. Right? Okay. And we need a bust, and it needs to happen quick. These busts need to happen fast so that we don't have too much and too long of turmoil in the real economy, okay? And that real economy is where you've got consumers and businesses transacting with each other, okay? And we've got another economy, and it's the federal government economy, and that's where you've got printing of money and taxes that come into the federal government, and they pay for services that we're all paying for, no doubt. But the problem is that when the Federal Reserve raised rates, many companies in the real economy, they laid off people because they knew that this bust was going to happen. And the federal government did not. They just kept printing and spending and spending and spending. And to be honest, I think that moving forward, when we need to bust the economy, when the Federal Reserve raises rates, not only should companies probably lay off like they normally do, good, healthy companies lay off people, the federal government should do the same. Because probably in 20 years, our government will probably expand just as much as companies expand. That's typically, they're going to go hand in hand at the end of the day, right? As an economy grows, so does the federal government size. That's typically going to happen. All right, so moving forward, hopefully, the next bust cycle that should happen, the federal government should probably lay off employees as well to allow for that economic cycle to be more natural, okay? Rather than this massive just chainsaw cutting that DOGE is going through right now, right? The government went way too far as spending. They caused all this inflation, and interest rates are still elevated. The Federal Reserve is not going to budge because inflation is still sticky. And let's go back one more second. In previous years where economic times were tight, what would companies do? Companies would try to become efficient and stronger during these periods of uncertainty and difficult economic times. Companies always tend to lay off employees, and they use technology to become efficient, like software, robots, computers, automation, things like that, right? And so when you look at these cycles, these companies get stronger and stronger, and the wealthy become even more wealthier in every one of these cycles. Every time there's a bust, you get dumb money selling to smart money. That's always what happens, all right? And so now we get to today, and things are tight with companies, even though they're still making profits. The best companies are always going to probably pull in profits, no doubt. But things are tight, and they're starting to lay off employees because of the Federal Reserve. Not only are interest rates high and putting pressure on companies, but tariffs. These tariffs are a big problem for companies because they don't know how to navigate them. We haven't had them for forever, and they don't know if they're going to pass that tax onto the consumer or not. Maybe they'll absorb some of it. And in the process, they're going to have to get efficient to deal with tariffs, whether they get applied or not. We don't know that yet, right? It keeps getting delayed every 30 days, so on and so forth. All right. And so when you get all these pressures in this time today, we're going to see an entirely new type of company come out the other side even stronger than we ever have seen before. And why is that? It's because of artificial intelligence, guys. Artificial intelligence is going to create a wealth transfer the size of Nebraska, one we've never seen before. All right. Now let's talk about the smart money that's kind of sitting on the sidelines right now. We've got about $7 trillion sitting in money market accounts, collecting, 4.5% from the Federal Reserve at the end of the day. And 4.1 trillion of that is institutional money, just sitting on the sidelines, waiting. They're waiting for the bust to happen. And that is why you're seeing these massive cuts come to the federal government for the bust, for that economic cycle to go through its natural process, and for the Federal Reserve to come in and save the day when unemployment skyrockets. That's probably what's going to happen. I believe that from these federal layoffs and contracts being canceled is that we're going to see a snowball effect in the economy now. We already have a weak, regular real economy right now. A lot of companies are still laying off employees. Times are tight, and they're going to AI. They're going to keep going to AI to replace labor at the end of the day. And to the catalyst for this entire flash crash, which I think is going to happen, is this DOGE initiative, these federal layoffs and contracts being canceled. There's a ton of money in that. Okay, every federal employee, they're making buco bucks. If you go to Washington, D.C., what do you see? You see the fanciest cars on the road. You see beautiful houses, beautiful landscape, fancy restaurants, all that jazz. And all that's going to stop. All that's stopping today. And that's going to affect the broader economy as a whole. All right. And you're seeing it in the stock market. We've already had a 10% correction in the NASDAQ. I think we're down only 6%, 7% on the SPY. We just hit the 200 moving day average on the SPY. We closed below it. And when that happens, typically we're going to see a little bit more of a correction, to be honest. And, I don't know how long this will take. My estimates are probably 3 to 12 months. We're going to see this happen. And we're going to see the same thing happen. Same thing as 2008. We're going to see dumb money sell their shares. Every red candle you see, there's a buyer behind it. And it's smart money buying those candles. Okay. And what are we going to see on the other side, guys? We're going to see the Federal Reserve drop rates dramatically, probably the same way they always do. They're always late to the party, remember? Remember, inflation was transitory. They were late to the party, right? And they're late to the party now. I mean, they're not even paying attention to, why don't they go on TikTok or YouTube and see how many people are getting laid off? They keep using these metrics, these government metrics, and they're not on the street actually paying attention to what is going on. They're not really reading company reports. They should. They should pay attention to these revenues going down. Profits are going to probably remain maybe flat, or they may increase, and that's due to AI. Okay? Companies are substituting labor with AI, artificial intelligence. Now, and this is why this is the biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind, is that we've only had this technology for 2 years, guys. 2 years, that's it. We don't even know what's going to happen from this. And why are these big tech companies investing billions of dollars on chips? I'll tell you why. It's because each chip is essentially a replacement for labor. That is exactly what the strategy is from big tech. And what are the wealthy going to do? They're going to scoop up every share available on the big tech companies, no doubt. You've got your chip makers, AMD and NVIDIA. And then you've got your AI companies, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, Microsoft, Google, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to scoop up those shares. Palantir as well. And they're going to scoop up those shares at a nice 20, maybe 25% discount, to be honest. Because we're going to see the FUD come in. The FUD from the media. It's already happening. You're seeing the correction. They've got a nice 10% discount. And when the rates finally lower from the crash that we're probably going to see, that's when that smart money, the $4.1 trillion that's in money markets, it's going to move all over to the stock market. They'll want to go find new yield. They'll want to find yield, and they're going to find it in the best, strongest, efficient companies known to mankind. The big tech companies and companies that can take advantage of AI. All right. And the first group of companies that are taking advantage of AI are the white collar companies that can use ChatGPT, Claude, Amazon, so on and so forth, right? Those are the first set of companies that they'll be able to take advantage of. And it's going to happen quick. The flash crash will happen quick. The feds will lower rates and they'll scoop up those shares first. All right. But then we'll still have a lingering rough economy from all these layoffs that are happening, right? So that'll continue to happen, and we'll still see some companies probably lose valuation in the stock market, maybe for a little bit longer. Okay. But these companies that employ blue collar workers, that'll be what gets scooped up next. Okay. The AI revolution is just getting started. It's mostly happening in the white collar field today. But this is going to evolve exponentially. It's going to evolve faster than you can imagine. They're already planning for it. Whether it's Tesla, Figure AI, there's probably 50 other companies building these blue collar replacement robots. All right. These robots are not the same as your old robots you see in like a factory, like an arm where an arm takes apart from point A to point B and maybe it screws a couple bolts or something like that. That's kind of the robots that have replaced labor over the last 30 to 40 years. I know in my state, in Michigan, the auto capital of the world, I understand this. This has been happening for 30, 40 years. This is nothing new for the state of Michigan. That's why you see like the housing costs in Michigan are not super expensive because our economy has never really recovered from all the automation that has happened and all the outsourcing that has happened overseas. Okay. And so all that's happening now, we've got a new smart robot that is coming in the next 12 to 24 months. AI is going to accelerate that. It's not going to be very difficult for companies to implement a robot to do some sort of crazy thing with their fingers. All right, that's going to happen. And so the wealth are just going to get wealthier than we've ever seen before. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And the reason I'm talking about this is that be aware of this and be very careful. Be positioned to where you don't have to sell your position in the markets, whether it's your 401k or your after-tax brokerage account. Have enough cash set up on the sidelines to deal with the next 12 to 24 months of layoffs, this snowball effect I'm talking about. Have enough cash on the sidelines to where you can at least not have to sell your position, because this will flip and we will have a huge V-shaped recovery like we've never seen before. And that's because these companies aren't going to rehire labor when the growth cycle starts back up. Normally, in years past, we've had a growth cycle and companies, they'll ramp up labor again, right? They'll ramp up labor and the Federal Reserve will be happy again because they'll see unemployment come down, right? But in this case, I'm not trying to be a doom and gloom, but I believe that we are not going to see the same ramp up that we're used to when we get into the next growth cycle, because AI will have been here. This is a new technology that the Federal Reserve, these people who are 60 and 70 years old, who are on these committees, maybe they understand it or maybe they don't. I don't know. I just don't think they do. I don't think they realize how many jobs this is going to actually replace, and they'll never replace these jobs again. AI is just going to run companies left and right. I was at 4 meetings the past 2 weeks with my company with AWS. The products they're coming out with are remarkable, guys. They really are. And this is just scratching the surface for me. I hear about these AI agents. I haven't even learned about that stuff yet. I'm probably going to learn about it talking to Amazon and probably paying attention to what's happening. It's just insane what's going on with AI, and it's just scratching the surface. We're just getting started on this, and to understand that when this growth cycle happens again, and the expectation that the Federal Reserve is going to have that unemployment is going to get lowered from lowering interest rates, I think they're clueless. They're in their own little spreadsheet land, overeducated spreadsheet land of, look at the numbers, we'll be okay. It's not the same, guys. It's not the same. And I'm just taking an honest approach to this, and I want people to understand this. This channel is all about building wealth, and be positioned. All right. Don't sell your portfolio by any means. If you can take advantage of the dip and you have enough cash, plenty of cash on the sidelines to be able to withstand a layoff, maybe nibble on some of these shares, on some of these AI companies, because this is going to be the next big thing for the next 10 to 20 years, and you want to be part of it. Okay, you want to be part of it. I know it's going to suck for a lot of people because they got laid off. and they're not going to be in a position to hold on to their portfolio. And I feel bad for them. I really do, both in the private sector and in the federal sector. So these are the reasons why I think we're going to see the biggest wealth transfer of all time. And no one's really talking about it. People are talking about just, the Doge layoffs and all that. I get all that, but they're not talking about really what's happening. There are some people that are saying the rich are going to get richer, and they're right. They're right 100%. But they're not talking about it from the perspective of how AI is going to take over. They're not even mentioning anything about UBI, Universal Basic Income. Because honestly, I think that's probably what's going to be the biggest conversation moving forward. And even Elon Musk, he's all about cutting all these federal jobs. He's mentioned UBI numerous times, and no one's even talking about it right now. No one's even speaking about it. And it should be talked about soon because AI is right around the corner. Okay? Elon Musk and them know it. They're not stupid. These people are not dumb. They are the smartest people on the planet, these engineers. They know exactly what they're doing. All right? They know what's right around the corner, and it's the replacement of labor. Okay? They've predicted it numerous times over the last few years, and be aware of it, guys. That's what's going to happen. Be positioned. Try to find new creative ways of generating income. YouTube might be a way. TikTok might be a way. I can't think of any other ideas off the top of my head. I wish I had all the answers. I really don't. But they're out there. There are other YouTubers that probably have good answers for how to find creative jobs outside of these jobs that are going to get replaced by AI. We've got to find new ways of being creative, of adding value into this economy. And people will still have an economy of some sort, right? But it's going to be different. It's going to be more of a creation economy, an art economy, probably a news economy. Obviously, people still report the news like crazy, right? There'll be a lot of politics. That's not going to change, right? You can get into politics and still make a ton of money on that, right? So be aware of these things, guys. This is more of a laid back video, kind of just chilling. I didn't want to create like too much of a negative attitude. I want to stay positive in the channel. I want to be sensitive to what's going on. I know that things are rough out there, and we need to be positioned to understand what's going on and take advantage of it if you can. Okay? And if you can't, help other people out. People are going to need help in the next 12 to 24 months. I think that's what's going to happen. That can be something we can take away from this video, is be helpful out there. If you've made it this far, I'm 23 minutes in. If you've made it this far, try to be helpful to your neighbor. Give them encouragement. Say to them, hey, try this out. Hey, I found this strategy in YouTube. Try this out. Get back on your feet, whether you're a federal employee or a private sector employee. We can do it, guys. We can do it together and stay positive out there, okay? But that's what I think is going to happen. I think the wealthier are going to get wealthier, and be aware of this, all right? Stick together. We can do this. All right, guys? If you guys could, thanks for sticking around this long, and if you guys could, take a look at my previous video. And everyone, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.